morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. And I've got a guest today that's a result of BNI, but he is not a BNI member. When I had Patty Seagrave on the other day, she says, you need to have Harry on your show. If you know Patty is an avid pickleball player. And so she said, you need to talk to Harry Smith. And he is the USA Pickleball Ambassador. So he is not just a pickleball player, but he actually has a title. And he says, I don't do that much. I'm retired. But Harry, tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Well, I came out of retirement. I retired from tech 2002 and thought I'd spend a lot of time in my workshop. I do a little bit of woodworking. But within the past 2 years, really brought about around the time of COVID, pickleball kind of emerged again. It started in 1964, but due to health reasons, people had to isolate themselves, and they found out that a pickleball court where you're isolated from one another across the net, that's a safe distance, and the emergence of pickleball came about again. And we're now at about 38 million players across the United States, ranging 9 to 90 in terms of age.
Right. Yeah. And you said across the USA. Has it crossed borders much, or is it mainly U.S.?
We are only in about 70 countries now.
Okay. That's quite a bit.
It has become an international sport. They're anticipating within 10 years it will be part of the Olympics.
That makes sense. I noticed that I mentioned Patty and her daughter Emma. Some of our BNI folks went on a cruise here recently, and Emma won the her age bracket pickleball tournament on the cruise. So I thought that was kind of cool.
It is amazing. A fellow ambassador, Chuck Black, up at Crossville, also does the thing. He carries his gig with him anywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And cruising is one place I've seen him play pickleball.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those things I've looked at it. I've never any good at tennis, so tennis was not something that really appealed to me, but that's one of the things I've noticed kind of appeals to folks. It's not as fast a game. I know a lot of times you end up playing on tennis courts because that's what's available, but you don't use, it's a smaller court, I believe, and you use it it's kind of like a wiffle ball or something like that, so it doesn't travel as fast, so you have some time to get to it.
It is a smaller court. You can put 3 pickleball courts on one basketball court, to give you an idea. 20 feet wide, 40 feet long, and then you want an area around 10 feet around the side of it. But the ball's going to travel about 30, 40 miles an hour when you're facing your opponents across the net. But in terms of the transition from tennis to pickleball, we see a lot of people making that transition. It's a little bit less hard on your limbs. It's still a mobile sport. It's still a fast sport, but it doesn't have the impact that tennis does in many ways on your legs, especially. Also on your arms, because you're not serving as hard as you are in tennis. So there's a lot of tennis players, though, making the transition to pickleball.
So I don't know a lot about it, but so are the rules more like ping pong, or is it sometimes called table tennis? Which is it? Is it more similar to tennis or more similar to ping pong in your scoring and such?
All of the above. It's a combination of both. Again, you have a 20 by 44-foot court. You have a net that is 2 inches lower than a tennis net. And you have a paddle that is a short handle, not like a tennis racket. You have a ball that looks like a wiffle ball, but it is not. It's perforated where it will fly straight, where a wiffle ball will go any direction.
Right.
So when you direct that ball off your paddle, it's going to go where your paddle tells it to go. Normally you can play 2. You play 3 ways. You can play singles, you can play doubles, mixed doubles, and you can play doubles, male, double, female. And you have all three of those combinations.
Okay.
You start out, you score 11, win by 2. As long as you are scoring a point, you remain in control of the ball.
Kind of like volleyball in that sense. Okay.
When you lose a point, the second person on that team gets a chance to serve. And again, they serve until they lose the point. Then it becomes side out, and the other team starts serving.
I guess, and like volleyball, you can only score when serving?
That is correct.
Okay.
That
awesome.
is correct.
So
the ball is going about 30 or 40 miles an hour across that net. And it can have an impact on you. Because you're standing 7 feet back from the net.
Right.
The only time you can step into that 7-foot area called the no volley zone or the kitchen is if the ball bounces, you can step in and dink it back over the net. But you cannot step into that no volley zone and slam it down.
It has to hit first, is what you're saying.
It has to bounce on the court first if you're in that no volley zone, and then you can return the ball.
Because I guess that would be, again, kind of like volleyball or even tennis also, where you just kind of dink it over the net so the person can't get to it, then you get the side out or the point. But you can't meet it in the air in that
zone.
In that zone. All right. Good to know that. I want to go ahead till we don't forget and come to the end of the program and go, oh, we're running out of time. Tell me about Pickleball for a Purpose.
This is an event that, matter of fact, Patty was one who initiated this idea, Patty Seagrave. She thought it would be neat to maybe have a challenge between the city council members and the county commission members and raise some money for St. Jude, and at the same time get those people out who make decisions about our facilities and let them see what kind of facilities we're playing on. Because we do have no dedicated pickleball courts in the county or in the city.
Right.
Absolutely not. We share everything with basketball or tennis.
Okay.
So this will give them a chance to see what we're playing on, and hopefully they can help us get some dedicated courts. But overall, it's a public event, raising money for St. Jude, and we're just going to have a lot of fun out there.
Have you gotten a good response from our elected officials, or do we need to give them a little more push here from the radio show here?
A tremendous response.
Great.
We have 8 teams on each side, 8 teams of 2.
Okay.
And for those members who do not know how or did not know how to play pickleball, we paired them off with an established player.
Okay, kind of like Dancing with the Stars.
That's a good analogy. That's a great analogy. And they have been practicing. And
well, I guess golf does the pro-ams, yeah.
Yes. The city mayor's kind of pushing the county mayor a little bit. So,
okay.
I want to meet you out there in that court.
That's great.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We have a lot of volunteers to pull this event off.
Yeah, I bet.
Beth Allison is great at coordinating tournaments, and she is the one that's really organizing the event itself. But at the same time, we're going to have a clinic for people who do not know how to play.
Okay.
And for $25, they can get an hour, a little bit more instruction starting as a beginner. So we'll have that going on 3 of the courts at the community center, and then the competition will be going on at the other 3 courts.
Okay. And just to make sure I'm clear. Oh, okay. I'm reading your flyer here. So
October the 21st, Saturday morning, 9 to 12.
You said community center.
Community center across from Avery Trace.
Okay, that's what I was thinking you were talking about.
Tennis courts.
And then it's kind of funny, but if you have bad weather, you got to go to Cane Creek.
Can we go into Cane Creek?
Too bad you couldn't just move it inside at Avery Trace, huh?
It's going to be on basketball courts. It's the same situation.
Well, and we were talking earlier this week, and I realized it's like you talk about you do basketball courts, but I see the people at some of the tennis courts line. I know they're there for pickleball because there's a big crowd, because there's never a big crowd at the playing tennis anymore unless it's an actual tournament. You're working on an issue so that you can play year-round and be indoors and not have to worry about the weather.
That is another project that I'm working on. It has quite a ways to go, but there's a warehouse in town that the people who are in charge of the warehouse are hoping that they can turn that into an indoor dedicated facility for pickleball.
Okay.
We do not have a year-round option in terms of playing other than sharing with community center. The other option is First United Church. We have a program going there. But we have to give the church members, obviously, priority.
Right.
But we have over 100 members. 80% are not church members who play there.
Right.
And we have to limit each session to about 18 people. So you have time to get on the court rather than be waiting all the time.
And, of course, during the winter, they probably have, like, youth basketball in there or something like that.
Yeah, the gym is very active, and it's heavily booked. So we are in desperate need of dedicated facilities in Cookeville and Putnam County.
Now, you mentioned that the warehouse, is it something because they're not using it, they want to make it available for you, or is it going to be a multi-use facility?
I don't want to get too much into right now.
I understand that.
It's one that has been abandoned, and the future use of it is unknown at this point, other than the fact that there's a couple people who are working hard to try to get it converted into a dedicated,
yeah. So it's basically, you're negotiating to be able to use it, but it's not going to, they get a higher paying permanent tenant. They'll probably say, well, we're glad we were able to host you, but we're in business.
There would be a nominal playing fee.
Sure.
And across the nation, it's not unusual to see a membership fee of $30, $45 a month, like you might pay in a gym.
Right.
What have you. Or there would be a drop-in fee if somebody's traveling between Nashville and Knoxville or what have you. Staying overnight, they want to play pickleball, which is not unusual for them to carry their gigs with them. And when they're traveling, find a place to play after dinner. And, that might be a $3, $5 fee to pay for the evening for a chance to play.
Okay.
I carry mine wherever I go also.
Right. Well, and a lot of times, people think, well, try to tie things on this show to insurance. I mean, that's what the show's about, is insurance matchmaking. And, I thought it would sound like a great idea because I work in health insurance and if you've listened to my show at all, you know that my soft spot is for Medicare. And so it's those empty nesters and retirees and maybe sooner retirees seem to be, I think, the bulk of the crowd. So it's hitting my demographic, but actually, what's interesting, I shared with Harry just before we started recording, is I got one of my trade association, actually the lobby organization, our lobbying organization for insurance agents, actually in one of my newsletters there published a thing that it's affecting insurance, but not necessarily in my field, but it's affecting the venues of that they're having to increase their liability insurance and things like that because they've got more people using their facilities. But I found it ironic that here was something that is just recreation, but it's hitting my insurance field. I can
speak to that a little bit. You are hearing from the doctors, orthopedic doctors, and what have you, that they're seeing more cases of injury due to pickleball.
Okay.
But you have to temper that with the fact of the growth of pickleball.
Right.
Again, we have 38 million people in the United States now playing. So it's getting the news because, one, the rapid growth of the sport itself. It's also getting the news because injuries are appearing. But if you look percentage-wise of the number of injuries to pickleball players, it's not any greater than the percentage to other sports like tennis.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
The liability issue is one that they're concerned about because more courts are being opened across the United States. Therefore, again, there's more exposure to liability and what have you. But that is part of any sport that you're going to grow. You're going to have that liability issue coming along.
Right.
The interesting thing is we're talking about a sport for people 9 to 90. We have 18 to 34 is your predominant age group.
Okay.
But we do have a large number of people who are my age, I'm 81 actually, 70 to 90 who are playing pickleball as well.
Right.
But we're playing for three basic reasons. Number one is fitness and wellness.
Right.
That's why the most of us in our age group and the younger people are involved. Secondly, we're playing for social ability. We want to socialize.
Right.
The human is a social animal.
Right.
And in pickleball, if you go watch pairs playing, teams of two, as you watch that sport, while the play's going on, you're going to see them teasing each other across the net. You're going to be saying, good point, or you got me on that one, or I got you finally. And you don't see that in some of the other sports.
Yeah.
Because you are farther back.
Okay, yeah.
Tennis, for example, you are way back, so communication is not as easy. But when you are 14 feet across the net from your opponent, you're making eye contact, you're making vocal contact,
sure,
you're having a lot of fun.
Go ahead.
So wellness and fitness is one, sociability is the other, and then for 80%, give or take, of the playing population, competition ranks third.
Okay.
The other two are the most important.
Right.
Recreational players. Professional players, it's a whole different story.
Right. All right. Well, we can on our commercial break here, and then we'll be right back after a couple commercials and continue this conversation with Harry Smith about pickleball.
Tickets are now on sale for the 27th Annual Cooking on the Square, presented by Baird Private Wealth Management. Cooking on the Square pre-sale tickets are available at several banks in town and at the Habitat Restore, 560 South Jefferson Avenue. Join your friends in Upper Cumberland Habitat for Humanity on the Square Friday, October 27th for the best event every fall. Cooking on the Square is presented by Baird Private Wealth Management. Special thanks to entrance sponsors Truist Bank and Putnam County officials. Follow Cooking on the Square on Facebook for more information.
Is slow internet driving you batty? This Halloween season, break free from the curse of sluggish connections. With Twin Lakes Fiber Internet, you can say goodbye to haunted buffering screens and hello to a screaming fast internet experience. With dedicated connections and speeds up to 10 gig, you can connect all of your devices and stream your favorite shows without any scary interruptions. Don't let slow internet haunt you any longer. Call 800-644-8582 or visit twinlakes.net and leave the slow speeds in the dark.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance, hosted by Matt Libby.
All right, and welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. Here with my guest, Harry Smith, the ambassador with USA Pickleball, and we've just been talking about how the growth that has had and what its effect it's had on insurance and such. One of the things you said that reminded me of you were talking about that doctors are saying they're seeing more injuries related to pickleball, which you're saying is generally probably more related just to the fact of the popularity and growth of pickleball. I just remember and he was an orthopedic, so he definitely knew what he was talking about. And he said, if you're first time snowboarding, you're starting after the age of 40, you will probably be coming in to see him. It was like the snowboarding kind of went from the skateboard, and now like. That's in the Olympics now. And, yes, I wouldn't try it now. In fact, I'm not even going to try skiing again. And I've got a knee issue now, so it's like definitely not going to go skiing again. But I definitely could, and I was already over 40 when I was in that meeting, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I could see where it would make sense that now it's not the time for me to try it.
Well, getting ready for the show this morning, I went online and found this. Philip Adler, who's a manager of athletic training in the orthopedic department of Spectrum Health, likes that pickleball is a low impact on knees and joints. Mm-hmm. And he said it's not without risk, but if you have rotator cuff issues or problems with your shoulders, pickleball is a good option to consider. And you're using your forearms, biceps, triceps, because there's some bending over. You're also stretching your hamstrings and quads, and you're getting your heart rate up.
Right. So, yeah, and I was thinking that when you were talking about, that there are concerns that are seeing more issues, but because you mentioned it is low impact, and the socialization part of it is you would think doctors would definitely, and I think they are, but would be encouraging it because, okay, you blew me away when you told me you were 81. Did not get, folks, you can't see on the radio. This guy doesn't look 81, doesn't act 81. I thought he was, a few years older than me. I knew he was retired, but I figured he's probably between 70 and 75 at tops. So
I could take off on that a little bit if you want me to.
Go ahead.
A partner and I play mixed doubles Senior Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And Senior Olympics now, pickleball is the biggest single sport now for Senior Olympics.
Okay.
And the state championships are held in Chattanooga every year.
Okay.
So I played down there twice in the mixed doubles. And my partner and I saw our opponents this one particular match. And if she weighed 90 pounds, she weighed, anyway.
Yeah.
And she and her husband kind of limped out on the stage. And my partner and I looked at each other. And we didn't want to be presumptuous, but we thought we had this one. So we started playing. And
she fired you up,
lady, who is in her 80 age bracket along with us. She woke up. I mean, she'd been slam, bam, getting that ball back to us and beat our butts. She really did. And so we learned you do not assume by appearance how somebody's going to react when you start playing pickleball. Incidentally, the Senior Olympics in Chattanooga, 640 players, 34 courts.
Wow.
In the Centennial Convention Center down there.
Okay.
2.5-day event. And
that's just a state event.
That's just the state event.
Yeah.
Not to mention national. And this area, Cookeville, Putnam County, sent over 20 players down there.
Okay.
And came back with 19 medals at various levels. We're well represented here with pickleball players. We've got over 600 players in the 385 area code number. Fairfield Glade alone has over 1,000 players.
Right, yeah.
Up there. It's just a fun, physical sport that is good for anybody, but for us who are up in our age bracket, it keeps us moving. Yeah. It does.
Well, you mentioned the Fairfield Glade, and I know that that's a tight-knit community, I'd say.
Very much so.
But
some people up there now.
Yeah. Is it that group? Is it only for Fairfield Glade folks or other people? Because obviously, if online we reach a little bit further with this radio show. This is mostly a Cookeville show, so generally our Cookeville listeners might not want to go to Fairfield Glade to play on a regular basis, but we might, there might be somebody in Monterey or other parts of Crossville that might be interested in doing that. To the
contrary, we have some of our better players from Cookeville 3 days a week travel to Fairfield Glade because they have dedicated courts. And they are serious about their playing. They enjoy it for all three reasons, but they are highly competitive, and they have good courts that they can play on up there against competitive players. And again, we have several that go 3 days a week all the way to Fairfield Glade. But when I say 1,000 players, I'm talking Fairfield Glade, Crossville combined.
Right. That's still quite a bit.
It is. And it's a shame they have to go up there, to find
to go that far, to
find a dedicated court. There are some outside courts now that are dedicated here in our area. Life Church has just added 3 outside dedicated courts. Livingston has just added 3 dedicated courts outside, but that does not answer the inside being able to play around.
Right.
And that's where our dilemma is.
You mentioned life. They could do the what do they call it, the fun factory or whatever. They probably could they could stripe off some areas there. And like I said, there's a lot of times the seniors, they have a big group that they feed lunch to there every Tuesday. So.
And it's they also have a large youth group and a great youth program. And pickleball is something that really we're just waiting for the youth group to really organize and come up through the ranks as they age through their years.
Sure.
You're going to see even more rapid growth. We're talking about 157% growth in pickleball over the past 3 years. Now, if my bank account would show that, I'd be in good shape.
Now, is there any hints of it being interscholastic, like schools start doing teams or colleges are?
I don't remember the name, but I've recently read about some colleges offering scholarships for pickleball. Yes, it's going to reach that level as well. At the pro level, they're approaching $1 million annual salary for a pro player.
Wow.
But the interesting thing is at the pro level, there are 2 leagues. There's the National Pickleball League and the Professional Pickleball Association.
Okay.
They are competitive leagues like you have in football. Anheuser-Busch has invested in one of the leagues. Some of the football players have invested into some other leagues. The women's reigning champion in singles, doubles, and mixed doubles. She is a Triple Crown winner. 7 Triple Crowns this year. She's 16 years old.
Wow.
The reigning male Triple Crown winner, tied with her, 7 Triple Crowns this year, is 24 or 25 years old.
Now, you talk about the different age groups. Is it very strictly adhered to? I know it's like when you get like into like in the senior leagues, usually it's things are broken off for seniors because they're not going to be as fast as someone who's in their 30s, and then and also on the other end you're not going to have somebody 30 playing against a 16-year-old. But is there some overlap there where somebody like yourself would be legal to play in a younger age group because it's a challenge to you, not to the who you're playing against per se?
Yeah. From a recreational perspective, any age plays against any age. That's wide open. If you're going into a competitive, like the Senior Olympics, they're divided by skill level and they're divided by age.
Okay.
So you have those 2 different groups. I can drop down skill level wise and play with younger people if I dare do that. Mm-hmm. I can't do that. The younger people cannot move up into the other brackets. If you go to the pro levels, there is no age differential.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like the PGA. If you're good enough to make the cut, you can move from amateur to pro.
Exactly, and that's a long debated discussion. I think I'll use the play term. Should you, when you are ranking people in terms of playing pickleball, consider age? And one school of thought says, no, you should never consider age. If you're a 4-point player, you're a 4-point player regardless of age.
Yeah.
The other school of thought would take issue with that and say, wait a minute, it's important to take age into consideration, and relatively speaking, an 80-year-old could be a 4-point player, a 30-year-old could be a 4-point player, but the skill level would be different in terms of their skill level. And that's a mildly debated argument, but it's kind of sorted itself out when you go to recreational play versus professional play.
All right. And to tie this into something that could actually benefit me, I've thought back about when Harry was talking about that, the orthopedics and stuff are saying they're seeing some of these other injuries. I sell accident insurance too. Okay. And accident insurance will reimburse if you twist your ankle and need to go to urgent care or the emergency room, or if you break a bone or something happens and lands you in the hospital, there's reimbursements for hospital stays. A lot of times insurance will cover, but there's deductibles and things like that. Sure. And again, as we've talked about, my perception was, it's just a bunch of retirees playing this, but there's a lot of folks that are still working, and that's one of the big things is when you're working and you get hurt, now you can't go to work, or you can't work at the level that you need to because maybe you're doing a physical job and it's your business or whatever. This is, having that insurance comes in handy to kind of reimburse the lost income while you're recuperating. So I could tie anything into insurance. You give me enough rope.
Does an umbrella policy help cover that kind of a situation?
Umbrella policies cover liability, and that's actually not in my field. But umbrella is what we call the property and casualty, which is like your home and auto. So it goes with that. So it's more of the liability. The umbrella policy would come in handy for someone who's maybe hosting, the event. And then that we talked about those risk factors in the beginning, that I'm playing in your tournament and I got hurt, so I'm going to sue you. Gotcha. So that's where the umbrella policy would kind of come in. But the accident policies, I also market what's called hospital indemnity, because the Medicare Advantage plans, if you're in the hospital, you're going to have a big copay for several of for the first few days, and those things can kind of hit you hard, and so you can kind of hedge your bet on that of, hey, I get this indemnity plan that will reimburse me that big cost, but it costs a lot less than having a Medicare supplement that would have covered it 100%. Of course, that's more for a talk for a one-to-one, but I've got to get some pitches about insurance in this show. I'm loving talking about the pickleball and some great information, but
one of the more common injuries that is not what I would call a serious injury would be a pulled muscle of some kind. And normally that comes about because people haven't stretched before they start playing, loosened up and what have you. So you'll see that quite often, a sprain or a stretch muscle. But anyway, it is a fantastic sport, and it keeps me active. I contribute that. I do not like it on a treadmill. That is boring. But getting out on the pickleball court and meeting with my friends and having a good time, that's what's important.
So just to follow up, because we're about to run out of time here, on your Pickleball for a Purpose, at this point, the fundraising you're doing there is if those that might still have a room to get into one of these training sessions?
Yes, it's first come, first serve for the beginners clinic. And you show up on that morning, 9 o'clock or a little bit before, and there will be a sign-up table for the beginners clinic.
Okay. All right. And
there also will be a sign-up table for donations to St. Jude Children's.
Okay, great. And what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you if they've got questions?
There is a website that we have called CAP Cookeville Area Pickleball. and you can go on Facebook, Google for Cookeville Area Pickleball, and it will take you to that website.
Awesome.
Now, I have set it up as a private site to avoid some of the, I think, understandable problems that you might have with websites.
Right.
So it is an invite kind of thing, but we currently have 288 members.
All right. And, of course, I have Insurance Matchmaking website, and there's a spot there to submit questions for the show, or you can say, oh, what was that website Harry talked about on the radio? The other thing is keep listening. Also, if you go to that website now, we're posting the recordings of the show on YouTube. So if you miss a show, we go, oh, I wanted to hear who he talked to last week. You can go back, and it's usually, about a week or so after it airs, it'll be up on the web and on YouTube. So, just a reminder, it is the Medicare annual election period for enrollment time, and especially if you have a Part D drug plan because you have a Medicare supplement, but also a Medicare Advantage. We talked to you also. But there's some big changes in those prescription costs. There's some changes in the plans. You might want to relook at that. That's something we can help you with. It's no charge to you, no obligation to you, but hopefully if it makes sense for you to change your plan, we get to be the office that changes that. So have a great day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for tuning in to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.